Hi, this is me, Samora, a creative who's looking forward to the summer, enjoying the sun, wearing nice clothing, but to be honest, I don't really like what I got. It's too big, too small, or not really my style. So I decided to do it differently this year. I'm gonna make my own summer wardrobe with almost no sewing experience.
In this episode, I'm gonna make a pants that looks like a skirt, so very comfy but also fashionable.
And I was going to try to make the pattern myself, and I used the video by Jess, and I hear you thinking as a beginner making a pattern, but this was very doable. I would highly recommend. And I only needed 3 measurements: the hip size, the length on how long I want the skirt to be, and the belly button to the crotch. And when I drawed every step out, there was someone licking my feet and needing some attention, so I decided to sit on the ground, on the fabric I found at IKEA, and which I'm gonna use for the skirt pants as well. And I'm still a beginner, so this is not gonna be a tutorial, but I'm just gonna take you with me on some steps to make it more clear on what a fun project this is as a beginner. First, I laid out my bedsheet in a triangle. The outcome of the sum I measured out on the fabric. And now it was time to cut out the pattern pieces. And I would highly recommend not doing what I'm doing here, because you need the top part first to draw a curved line. And when I cut out the pattern piece, I cut it in half to create 2 separate leg parts, and I drawed out the crotch. I cut out 2 times the legs, so now I'm gonna sew the edges together. I pinned them together, right sides facing each other, and I did exactly the same thing with the other leg. And then it was finally time to get to the sewing. And in the original tutorials she makes also pockets, but that felt a bit too challenging for me. Maybe a project for the next time. And when I sewed the leg parts together on the edges, it was time to pin them together in the middle, right sides facing each other. One of the last steps was making the waistband. I sewed the ends together to create a circle and then folded it double again to create a loop so the elastic can go through. Okay, I think it's done. I only have to do the hemming left, so I'm gonna do a fitting. Okay, I don't know what I did wrong, but it's too small. I don't get it over my butt. I can, but it's very hard. I have to squeeze them to get them in. So I took off the waistband, made my pants a bit wider and sewed the waistband back on, and it fitted. Happy me. So now it was time to do the hemming, and that was very easy for me because I have this special hem foot, and with this thin fabric it works very well. My skirt pants is done and I'm really happy with it. I think it would be really nice to have a top that matches with it.
And of course I already had a plan on how I wanted the top to look like. It's very hard to find a pattern that way, so I decided to make my own pattern and just wing it. I wanted to have darts in it, a square neckline, and I want the top to close off with a knot on the back to keep it easy for myself without buttons or zippers. I used the t-shirt I already had with the same measurements I needed. I made a pattern out of it and did a fitting. It took me a few times to make it the way I wanted it to be, but the third time it was finally working. So time to cut out the fabric. And to give my top a nice shape, I'm making some darts in it. I'm just holding it on my body and pinning down where I want the darts to start and to end.
I think it works out, so I'm gonna do the same with the underlining as well.
Unfortunately, it started to rain, so it was time to move inside, where I continued with pinning down the underlining to the top, sewing it together and leaving the sides open so I can still turn it inside out.
I think the front part is done. I think it's looking nicely.
So it was time to continue with the back panels, and I used the front panel to be sure that they are connecting nicely.
So I'm gonna sew them together and then I can sew them to the front and see if it worked out.
I asked my sweet assistant to help me a bit to check how long the straps needed to be so I could sew them. And then my top was almost done. I sewed the sides together and created a top stitch everywhere, and then it was finally done.